again, everybody. Just kind of coming back, continuing with this boxcar project. I actually didn't think you guys would want to watch me cutting decals off a piece of paper and getting them wet and put them on. I just put a little bit of a graffiti on here, and you can see I put my leasing road marks for the Lake Erie Midwestern. So this car will be 20023. On this side, I put a little bit more graffiti, just one more hand tag, and got these graffiti decals from T2 Decals in Germantown, Wisconsin. The only thing about these ones, I don't know if you call them translucent, but they don't have white in them. They're on transparent paper. So if I was to put them straight onto this car, being black, silver, and well, I guess that's purple, they would look a little weird. So what I did was I cut out the decal and took the negative of the decal, took what was left over, actually it's right here. And in doing that, I was able to make basically a stencil. Actually I have it upside down, it's not the full piece here, but I was able to make a stencil, and then I sprayed white in there, and it gives it allows you to see all the colors, and then it gives you even just a little bit of that overspray. It makes it look a little bit more believable that it was sprayed with paint. But what we're going to do now is get a little bit of a weathering base onto the car. I've put a coat of dull coat on here so everything will stick a little bit better. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some grime and dirt across the bottom. And for that, what I typically use, again, I really like to use true color paints. I use a little bit of acrylics. I'm just gonna put a little bit of this. This is what is it, freight car brown, freight car red. Yeah, it's freight car brown, but I find that this color gives a really good kind of underneath, you know, just dirt. And what I'll do is I'll come back over it with a little bit of grimy black, maybe a little bit of gray, and that should give us a really nice mix. Got the airbrush set at about 36 psi. Going to simulate some kick up down here on the end of the car. Then we'll come back in. With some acrylics and some splatter effects. I just want to get the ends of the cars looking a little bit grimy. All right, let's go ahead and hit this other side real quick. I don't want to cover the whole truck. I just want to kind of catch the horizontal surfaces and where the dirt would accumulate on top. And then I come up and try to get up underneath the railing of the door and along that ridge line on top, where dirt might grab and accumulate. Again, this is a very light coat. We're not trying to put too much on here. Just kind of giving it a little undertone base color. We're going to come back in with acrylics and add to that. Okay, we got a little bit of a grayish, grimy black mixture here. Just gonna, again, lay some haze across the bottom and just kind of down the seams of the car, and the overspray will do the rest. I think the key when you're doing this is just to kind of do nice light layers, and you get you start to get that depth, and you get it without losing the effects of what you did with previous colors, as long as you're adding it in like nice gentle layers. If you go too hardcore at it, all you end up doing is you're just painting over everything. And we want to be able to see the patchwork, know that this was a patch out. We're not trying to hide anything. It just gives a nice light effect, and then we'll come back in with some oils and some acrylics if we want to make some mud streaks and dirt streaks and stuff like that. The nice thing about the airbrush is it's a combination of how lightly the paint is being applied, coupled with the flow of the air. It just dries. Everything dries so fast when you're using an airbrush. Sometimes I'll actually just airbrush the wheels and not really worry too much about them, and let that dirt effect, for things that are going to be for cars that are going to be in coal yards or sandy or dirty areas where there's a lot of dust and kick up. I mean, it's going to get on the wheels too. There's really no right or wrong answer, I guess. Use the prototype pictures where possible if you really want complete 100% accuracy. Just going to get a little bit of color up top on the rib lines, just to accent them more than anything. It'll give a nice spot for those acrylic washes to grab. Just those little variations in paint. So the next step, I'm going to come in and get just a little bit of a kind of a dusty dirt effect. This is Mission Models Light Neutral Tan. I'm just putting about 6 drops, 6 healthy drops in the airbrush. You can thin this with water, but I'm just going to go straight with it. Again, just putting a light, fine mist on everything. Too worried about the fact that we got a little bit of a splotch right there, because it's random. Life doesn't happen in perfect even synchronicity. So not unbelievable that they could have run over something or gotten a splatter on there that over time has been washed down and kind of had the edges softened up by running in rain or highly humid times. You really can't mess this stuff up. Now, if you're trying to model a prototype, make it look exactly like a prototype photo, obviously stuff like that you'd go back in and rectify. But I'm not going to worry about it. We're just making a generally kind of grimy looking boxcar. Going to make a few passes across the roof. If nothing else, similar to before, it'll create just a little bit more variations for the washes and stuff to bite on. And I'm just going to hit the ribs of the car. little baseline wash just to bring everything kind of together into the same basic hue. And when I say wash, this is just acrylic. This is that same dirt color, the Mission Models dirt color, light neutral tan. And really what I did was when I cleaned out the airbrush, I used this as the basis for my wash. I added 2 drops of Vallejo Terra just to give it just a ever so slightly more color. And then I just put it in a bowl of water. Just using a cheap, basically a cheap artist kit sponge brush to drag it straight down. And I like these because they kind of give you a nice wide spread and it makes it easy. Even if you slightly tilt it, you're still dragging it in that vertical direction, which is what you want. Now in these doors and where you have ribs that are going horizontal, you don't want to get too much in there because it'll tend to accumulate when it dries. Well, it'll look like you brushed it in there instead of Mother Nature depositing it in a film. It'll just look like one big pocket of schmutz. And this is just leaving a nice light layer across everything. I'll go across the trucks just to give another layer. You're not going to be able to get this on every surface on the trucks, which is fine. We're going to come back in at the very end with a little bit of powder work on the trucks. Now I notice gravity, as it pulls this stuff down, it's going to start to accumulate on this bottom rail, which is fine. We just want to make sure we don't get too much of a puddle going there. All right, that's one side. Now these guys a little bit trickier. The ends are usually protected by the car in front and back, and they just get a little bit of kick up kind of going, and we're going to put some splatter effect for kick up there. So I'm not actually going to drag down the side on the ends. So let's go over to this other side here. Going to do the same thing. You don't want too much. A little goes a long way. So the one thing with these acrylics, and you can actually use, I wouldn't go above 50% isopropyl alcohol. You can thin a lot of these acrylics with alcohol with no problem. And the alcohol does give you a nice break on the surface tension. I'm getting a little bit of break up here because I'm diluted with water, water. Some of these paints are solvent-based paints, so the water's kind of walking away from them, but I'm not too worried about that. Because again, we're gonna come back in at the very end and put a coat of Tester's dull coat on this, which I wouldn't do any final dull coat with anything but Testers. It just really is like the dullest paint. I've tried store-bought brands, not hobby store, like home improvement store-bought brands of paint, and I'll use those to start off, but I never do those as the finished coat. There's something about Tester's dull coat that just does a nicer job, in my humble opinion. Does a nicer job of really making that your model look, well, weathered down, dulled out by the sun, faded out. It's looking good. Little too much material or pigment kind of coming down here, so I'm just going to walk it off to the side, get it off the bottom rail here, and then drag it back down nice and straight. This wash is so diluted that what we're doing is going to be extremely so. We're going to give a little time for that to dry. Like I said, I could hit it with a hair dryer. If I owned a hair dryer, my hair is pretty short, so I don't really need to worry about using any electrical help to get it to dry. All right, we'll come back in a few minutes once all this water flashes off and this pigment has a time to set up, and then we'll get the next layer on.